Kyousuke makes Kirino, his younger sister, come back from the United States because he misses her. She tries to get her life back on track after several months outside Japan. When Kirino returns to the city, she tries to resume her routine by talking with friends and enrolling again in school. Kirino ignores her brother, and Kyousuke thinks the relationship they had built over the past year has disappeared. So even though it bothers him a bit, he decides to give Kirino his space. Kyousuke feels uncomfortable about his sister's treatment and asks her if she hates him again. Kirino replies that she doesn't need him because he has already taught her everything. A little disappointed, Kyousuke goes to his room. Still, Kirino wakes him up in the morning with a slap and gets him out of bed to go shopping with her old friend. Kirino meets Ruri and Sayori again to spend the entire day shopping for Kirino's otaku collection. After a few days, Ayase meets with Kyousuke to tell him that Kirino's been very strange the past few days. She keeps ignoring her because of a new game she bought. This obsession upsets Ayase, so she asks Kyousuke to help her. Kyousuke agrees to help Ayase and talks to Kirino, who accepts her problem and tells Kyousuke to keep the game so she can't play it. Kirino tells him to play it so she has someone to talk to about the game. After playing the game, Kyousuke gets addicted, even talking to the game character. Manami, who watches as her friend slowly loses her mind, tells him she'll rat him out to Ayase for playing such games. Ayase and Kyousuke meet again, and she complains about getting him addicted to the game. Kyousuke claims that she was investigating it for her to find out why Kirino was obsessed with it. Kyousuke invites Ayase to show her the game and tells her that she needs to imitate the character so Kirino will pay more attention to her. Ayase tries to follow Kyosuke's advice, but Kirino doesn't like her new attitude. Since it's Sayori's birthday, the group decides to give her a surprise visit. They're surprised by Sayori's actual image since she's not wearing her usual outfit and characteristic glasses. When Sayori sees her friends, she feels somewhat embarrassed because they saw her like this, although she still invites them to come in. While Rory, Kirino, and Kyousuke are in the living room, Sayori goes to the bathroom trying to calm her nerves. In the past, Kaori, Sayori's older sister, introduced her to anime. Sayori was always a timid girl, but thanks to joining her sister's friends, she opened up a little more to people. As his sister married and moved abroad, the group of friends gradually dissolved. The break saddened Sayori, and she promised to try to start a group of her own one day and form great friendships. In the present, Sayori leaves the bathroom and her sister arrives to wish her a happy birthday. Sayori reunited with her sister's old friends and wasn't sad about losing them since she found her own, which made her very happy. After her sister and her friends left, she and her friends celebrated a joyful birthday in their style. At home, Kyousuke finds a naked girl in the living room. He's surprised since he doesn't even know who she is. Kirino comes out of the shower, and while she complains, her towel drops. In the end, Kyousuke gets punched for being an unfortunate perv. At night, Kirino introduces Ria, one of her friends back in North America. Ria came to sightsee and hang out with her friend. Ria was a very willful girl who never stayed still, always trying to annoy Kyousuke. She showed attachment to him, calling him brother and always wanting to be with him, which annoyed Kirino. Ria asks Kirino to see the city center, so they go shopping and sightseeing with Kyousuke. Ria later tells Kirino that she came to Japan just for a rematch against her in a race. Kirino accepts, and they both go to the track. Once they're ready, Ria shows how fast she is, beating Kirino. However, Kirino was very close to beating her again, thanks to Kyosuke's encouragement. When Ria wins, she decides to leave the next day since she found out why Kirino managed to beat her that time. Kirino was thinking about Kyousuke. As Ria leaves, Kirino asks Kyousuke to be her boyfriend. Kyosuke's surprised by Kirino and even asks if she likes him. Kirino tells him no. She needs him to pretend to be her boyfriend as a favor. The idea is for him to pretend to be her boyfriend so that a modeling promoter would leave Kirino alone. She told her she couldn't work with her abroad because she had a boyfriend. The plan gets a little out of hand because they both have to pretend that they are going on a date so that a promoter can verify that Kirino and Kyousuke are a couple. They both have a romantic outing, taking photos together, and Kirino takes her brother's arm. Upon arriving home, the plan goes perfectly and the promoter gives up on Kirino. Kyosuke's relieved, although he tells her to use her real boyfriend next time. An annoyed Kirino hits Kyousuke, telling him she'll do it. The group later goes to a convention where they'll sell the girl's book. Although it was initially difficult to sell their book, everything was a joy for them after the first sale. While at the event, the group meets Misaki, one of Kirino's co-workers. They both get along well as they share different hobbies. Kyousuke's conflicted since he thinks he's her boyfriend, but he doesn't give it much thought. The next day, Ruri and Kyousuke come home from class, and she starts flirting with Kyousuke. Kirino watches them from the house and becomes jealous of Ruri. Later, the group decides to have a small party to celebrate the year and a half they've known each other. But the party doesn't go well because Kirino starts picking on Ruri about Kyousuke and completely ruins the meeting. Days later, Kirino takes Misaki to her house. Kyousuke gets upset with this and mistreats Misaki. Though, after thinking it through, he apologizes. Kyousuke tells him that he accepts his relationship with his sister, but has to show him that he loves her as much as he does. Kyousuke annoys Kirino, although in the end, that's what she wants since Misaki's pretending to be her boyfriend to make Kyousuke jealous. Rory meets Kyousuke only to tell him she wants him to be her boyfriend. Kyousuke's shocked by Rory's confession. However, he tells her to give him time to think about it, and he'll give him an answer later. Once at home, Kirino apologizes to Sayori for what happened in the last meeting. Then they all eat and have a good time until Kyousuke comments that he used one of the photos he took with Kirino behind his cell phone. He also says he has a picture of her in a bathing suit as a wallpaper on his cell phone. Kirino gets upset, but it ends up being a joke. Kyousuke accompanies Rory to her house and asks her if she wants to be her girlfriend, which makes her very happy. The next day, they both feel embarrassed because they don't know how to treat each other now that they're dating. However, Rory proposes doing everything she imagined with Kyousuke, which she had written in a book. Kyousuke wants to please her and agrees to do so as they start on a date. The day of their date arrives, and Rory wears a peculiar dress for the occasion. However, they spend a lovely day together. Since they were both following Rory's list, the next thing was for Kyousuke to go to Rory's house. Once he's at Rory's home, they watch a love movie that makes them both uncomfortable. Rory decides to bathe while Kyousuke's left alone in the room. Kyousuke thinks about getting into the shower with her, but then reconsiders and doesn't. Later, Kyousuke meets Rory's little sister, who taunts him. Rory and Kyousuke have a better time together, have a lot in common, and get along very well. Everything was fine until the day they went to see the fireworks together. The last thing Rory's list said was that she had to break up with Kyousuke. Rory breaks up with Kyousuke, who discovers she's moving to another city. After this blow, Kyosuke's sad in his room. Kirino doesn't seem upset and comforts her brother by having a nice sibling moment. Kirino decides to help her brother search for Rory. They bump into Rory on a family trip to a hot spring town. When they find her, Kirino argues with her for leaving without warning, but more importantly, she pleads for Kyousuke. Once they talk about it, Rory also argues with Kirino and asks her if she agrees with their fling. Kirino answers that she doesn't and tells her that it bothered her that he had a girlfriend. Kirino says that she loves him and doesn't want anyone to take him away from her. Rory's happy because she finally heard Kirino say what she felt. Then the three of them have lunch at Rory's new house, and Kyousuke realizes how much he appreciates his little sister. Ayase asks Kyousuke to help her by acting as a bodyguard at a festival where she'll perform to earn money. Although he doesn't want to do this initially, Kyousuke agrees after Ayase threatens him. Unfortunately, Kirino couldn't attend the festival because she had to do a photo shoot simultaneously. Once Kyousuke arrives at the event along with Ayase, he receives a message from Kirino telling him she'd like to be at the event. Upon reading this, Kyousuke goes in search of his beloved sister. He borrows a bicycle and goes looking for Kirino. After cycling almost 8 kilometers and crossing huge hills, he arrives to pick up his sister, who felt embarrassed by the situation but went with her brother anyway. They are a little late for the festival, but they do make it, with Kyousuke pleased with his little sister's happiness. Kyosuke's final exams were just around the corner, and his parents decided to send him to live alone for a month so that he'd concentrate on his studies, and he'll only come home if he can get a good grade. Upon finding out, Kirino's the first to visit him and buy him a small fridge so he doesn't live on packed food and wishes him luck in his exams so he can come home. The following day, Ayase shows up to Kyosuke's house to tell him that Manami had planned a party for Kyousuke because he had moved in alone. During the conversation, Ayase hints at her feelings for him. After a while, Rory visits Kyousuke and brings him some food. Leaving, Rory runs into Ayase, and there's tension between them as they both have feelings for him. After a brief fight, they both go, and Kyousuke dedicates himself to continue studying. The boys gather in the courtyard of Kyosuke's house, including Kanako, who had been visiting Kyousuke recently. They had all gathered to celebrate that Kyousuke had moved. At one point, the meeting began to get out of control as the girls started fighting to see who would take care of Kyousuke. Since Kyousuke couldn't take care of himself, the girls wanted to be his servant for a whole month. But in the end, Kirino herself decided that Ayase would be the one to help Kyousuke. She seemed pretty happy about the situation and wasn't against the decision. Luckily for Kyousuke, he passed the exams with the highest grade. The month ends and Kyousuke must return home, but not before talking to Ayase and thanking her for everything she did for him. Ayase even confesses to him, but he rejects her and tells her that his heart belongs to someone else. Ayase accepts it and sends him off with a small kiss, wishing him the best in life. When Kirino was a child, she admired her brother. They were very close and always played together. But when Kyousuke began to grow, he stopped having fun spending so much time with his sister, although he still loved her. One day, when Kyousuke was going to play at Manami's house, Kirino told him to take her with him. He said he'd do it if she caught up with him. Since Kyousuke was so much faster, she couldn't catch up with him. This incident was the main reason Kirino started track racing. She also started to hate Manami. Both were growing up, and Kyousuke became lazier and lazier, losing the image of an exemplary brother. At the same time, Kirino hated what he had become. Time passed, and Kirino enrolled in the modeling agency, where she met Ayase and became great friends. At that time, she learned about erotic manga about brothers. She loved them, and little by little she bought more and more, although she knew she had to keep the secret. Thanks to these, she got closer to Kyousuke again. After rejecting Ayase, Kyousuke still had a few more hearts to break, so after spending lovely moments and seeing how much she loved him, Kyousuke leaves Rory and tells her that his heart belongs to someone else. Rory accepts it, and although she swears Kyousuke for breaking her heart, she still loves and supports him. Christmas is approaching, so Kyousuke invites Kirino to go out with him like last year. She agrees even though she doesn't like the idea very much, and they both go shopping. They both rent a hotel to store the things that they bought, and after playing an erotic game on their laptop, they both leave the hotel. Kyousuke prepares a revelation for Kirino, but she doesn't want to listen and runs off. After chasing Kirino through half of the city, he finds her and tells her his feelings. Kyousuke shouts in the middle of the street that he has fallen in love with his little sister. Not only that, but he also proposed to her right there, and she says yes. In the hotel, they plan what to do and decide to be lovers until they graduate and return to being ordinary siblings once they do. Kyousuke gives Kirino an engagement ring so he can marry her. They both know it's wrong for both of them to get married. However, they don't care because they love each other. Christmas ends and they both decide to tell their friends they're going out. When they meet with Sayori and Ruri to tell them they're dating, they congratulate them and are happy about their happiness. Later, Kyousuke rejects Kuroneko, who wants to be with him. After several days, Kirino invites Kyousuke to her room to help her store the otaku merchandise she keeps buying. While they're at it, Kyousuke finds the box that Kirino didn't want to show him a year ago. This time, she lets him see it, and he finds a photo album with his photos from when he was little and an MP3 recording of Kirino from the past. She said how much she wanted to be with Kyousuke, although this would be strange. After hearing this, they both continued their relationship until graduation. Graduation day arrives and Kirino graduates from high school. Kyousuke goes to college and says goodbye to all of his high school friends, including the video game club. After meeting Kirino, he rejects the last missing girl, Manami. Kirino, Manami, and Kyousuke sit down to discuss the situation. Still, it quickly turns into a punching match between Kirino and Manami. After they vented on each other, Manami tells him they're doing something horribly wrong and disgusting, living in an absurd sexual fantasy. This doesn't matter to Kyousuke, who rejects Manami. It saddened Manami, but she still accepted her defeat against Kirino. Kirino gets mad at Kyousuke for how stupid he was for turning down so many girls just because of her. Kyousuke tells her it doesn't matter since he wants to love her no matter what they think or what happens. Kirino's happy and goes to the church to marry her brother. Once in the church, they both have a fake marriage, and after telling one another how much they love each other, they end up sealing their love with a kiss. After this, the deal was done, and they stopped dating to go back to living as ordinary siblings. And that was OreImo Season 2 recap. If you enjoyed this recap, remember to hit that sub, click the like button, and comment down below to let me know what you think of the series. I'll see you on the next video.